You ever notice how airports on winter mornings feel, I don't know, louder than they should? Like every rolling suitcase has its own attitude. Every coffee machine hisses like it's mad at the world. And every announcement echoes 3 times before it finally shuts up. Yeah, Austin Bergstrom, winter of 2025. Busy, grumpy, overcrowded. People wrapped in jackets they bought last minute. Soldiers returning from reserve duty. Kids tugging on parents' sleeves because they wanted cinnamon pretzels at 9 a.m. Nothing special, nothing weird. Until, well, everything went sideways. It was 9:42 a.m., gate A17. Cold air kept slipping in every time a door opened, like the whole building had a draft problem. Officer Caleb Brooks stood near the TSA checkpoint, one hand on his K9's harness, the other wrapped around a lukewarm coffee he already regretted buying. His partner, Diesel, a thick-coated German shepherd with that "I'm watching everything" kind of stare, sat perfectly still. Soldier still. The kind of stillness that makes people feel safe, without ever knowing why. And then, Diesel's ears twitched. Just one tiny flick. You wouldn't think that means anything, right? But Caleb felt it. A shift in the leash. Like a pulse. "Easy, buddy," he muttered, giving the harness a light tap. But Diesel didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move. His body tightened, like a bowstring pulled too far back. And then, boom. Diesel lunged. Not a regular dog lunge. Not the "oh, hey, a squirrel" kind. No, this was full force. Muscles coiled, claws scraping the floor. A launch so violent it ripped the leash from Caleb's grip. "Diesel, hey, no heel!" Caleb shouted, boots slipping as the dog dragged him forward. People screamed. Real screams. The kind you hear in disaster movies. Travelers scattered like the floor had burst into flames. "What the hell? Grab your kids! Back up!" A suitcase toppled and exploded open. Clothes raining everywhere. A tablet skidded across the floor. A man in a cowboy hat dove behind a vending machine like he trained for this moment. But Diesel didn't care. Not about any of them. He tore through the security line like a missile with fur, nearly knocking over a TSA agent who swore loud enough to make 2 grandmas gasp. "Level orange," someone yelled. "Level orange now!" Strobe lights flashed. An alarm chirped. The kind that twists your stomach even when you've done nothing wrong. And in the center of all that chaos, a tiny shape sat on the floor. A kid. A little girl. 6, maybe. Pink parka. Snow boots a size too big. Hair in 2 messy ponytails, like her mom rushed that morning. She sat curled on the cold tile, arms wrapped around a bright blue backpack, like she was protecting it from the whole world. People backed away from her, like she was holding something dangerous. "Oh my God, is it the kid? Is that where the dog's going? Jesus, someone move her." She shrank into herself, eyes wide, breath too fast. That silent kind of panic kids feel when they don't even know how to cry yet. And Diesel, dragging Caleb so hard the harness straps cut into his palms, wasn't slowing. "Diesel, stop! Stop!" But Diesel didn't stop. He didn't even hesitate. He barreled toward the girl, unleashing a bark so raw, so explosive. It didn't sound like barking anymore. It sounded like a warning siren wearing a fur coat. People jumped back. Someone screamed, "Bomb!" And the girl, Harper Quinn, according to the luggage tag barely hanging from her backpack, finally let out a tiny cracking sound. "Please, don't take my bag. I didn't do anything." That voice, thin, breaking, hurting, twisted something deep in Caleb's gut. Kids don't fake fear like that. But Diesel was within feet of her. His paws hit the floor. 1, 2, 3. He lunged, full weight forward, and in that exact second, the whole airport, because now, the crowd wasn't just afraid of the dog. They were afraid of her. The little girl, Harper Quinn, 6 years old, shaking like a leaf in a storm she never asked for. She wrapped her arms so tight around that blue backpack, it looked like she was trying to disappear inside it. And her voice, God, her voice, came out in these tiny broken pieces. "Please, don't take my bag. I didn't do anything, but..." It wasn't even a scream, it was, I don't know, more like a kid trying not to cry because she thinks crying will only make everything worse. And if you've ever heard a child plead like that, you know it sinks straight into the bones. But people didn't hear innocence. They heard danger. A guy in a worn-out Army Reserve jacket, late 40s, face weathered, boots still dusty like he just came off duty, stepped forward and barked, "Somebody grab that kid! That's suspicious!" His voice cut through the room like a blade. Heads snapped toward her like he had just given them permission to panic harder. Harper flinched at the sound. Actually flinched. Like someone had swung at her. A woman nearby yanked her son behind her so fast he stumbled. "Don't stand near her," she snapped. "Move back! Move back!" And you'd think someone, anyone would say, "Relax, she's a kid." But no. Fear fed fear, like dominoes falling. Phones came up. People recorded. Others whispered, "What's in the bag?" Why'd the dog go straight for her? Was she alone? Kids can be used, you know. It happens. And the thing is, none of them were being cruel on purpose. Fear just rots logic from the inside out. Time chums. Caleb watched Harper fold into herself, trying to become the smallest shape her body could make. Her chin trembled so hard it looked painful. Tears gathered at her lashes but didn't fall, held back by sheer will. Diesel stayed locked on her, muscles rigid, tail stiff, breathing harsh through his nose. But it wasn't aggression. Caleb knew that. Diesel wasn't trying to attack her. He was trying to tell them something. But nobody else knew the difference. A TSA supervisor, big guy, shaved head, clipboard tucked under his arm, pushed through the crowd. He squinted at Harper like she was a puzzle piece that didn't fit. "What's she holding?" he muttered. "Why hasn't she dropped it?" Harper hugged the bag tighter, like someone was about to tear it away. And then she whispered, barely, "I'm scared." That's it. 2 words, and they didn't soften the room. They made it worse, because now people thought she was scared because she was caught. A young TSA officer, nervous, sweaty, barely a year on the job, pulled out a pair of plastic flex cuffs, not the regular ones, the child-sized ones. He approached her, slow at first, then more assertive when she shrank back. Caleb felt his stomach twist. "No, hey, wait," he said, struggling forward. But the supervisor blocked him with an outstretched hand. "Brooks, hold your K9. She's clutching that backpack like it's life or death. Protocol says—" "Protocol?" Caleb snapped. "She's 6. But the crowd pressure had already tipped things too far. The young officer crouched, cuffs in hand. "Sweetie, I need you to—" Harper panicked. Not loud, not dramatic, just pure, silent terror. She jerked back, spine pressed against the cold floor tiles, clutching the backpack until her knuckles turned, ghost white. The officer reached for her wrist, and Harper let out a tiny, strangled sob. "Please don't lock me. I didn't do anything. I don't want to be bad." Her voice cracked so sharply, it felt like the floor should have cracked with it. The mom with the little boy whispered, "God, that's heartbreaking. But what if she's hiding something?" The reserve soldier nodded grimly. "You can't hesitate with this stuff. Not anymore." Harper shook violently, tears spilling now, breath stuttering like her lungs had forgotten how to work. Diesel gave a low, desperate growl, like he hated seeing her terrified. But he still wouldn't take his eyes off the backpack, and that only scared people more. The young TSA officer braced himself and tried again, stretching the cuffs toward her trembling hands. And Harper whispered, barely, like her voice had collapsed inside her throat, "I just want my mom." That did it. That line. That tiny broken plea. It wasn't loud, but everyone heard it. Because even in alarms, shouting, fear, there's something about a child on a cold airport floor begging for her mom that cuts through all the noise like a knife. But still, nobody stepped in. Nobody defended her. Nobody stopped what was coming. Diesel's growl deepened. Caleb's pulse spiked. The plastic cuffs hovered inches from Harper's wrists. And the airport. God. The airport was about to make the biggest mistake of the entire day. Diesel, the same dog who had pulled injured people out of wrecked cars, sniffed out fentanyl labs in the woods, and once sat outside a missing kid's bedroom just so she'd stop crying. That Diesel. But in that moment, people looked at him like he was a wild animal who'd slipped the leash. A young captain from airport security shoved forward, one hand hovering near the tranquilizer holster on his belt. Fresh out of training energy, overconfident, jumpy, too eager to take control. He pointed and yelled, "That K9 is malfunctioning! Pull him back!" Harper flinched so hard the backpack slipped in her arms. Caleb spun around, eyes blazing. "He's not malfunctioning! Don't you even—" But the captain wasn't hearing anything. He stepped closer, trying to assert dominance like he read it in a handbook. And Diesel, already wound tight from the shouting, let out this chest-deep rumble. Not at Harper, not at the kids, not at the crowd. No. That growl was aimed squarely at anyone stupid enough to get between him and that backpack. "Stand down!" the captain barked. Diesel didn't blink, didn't back up, didn't budge. Instead, he moved. Not toward Harper, not away from her, but in front of her, like a shield. Like he'd decided this 6-year-old was officially under his protection, whether the humans agreed or not. Caleb's heart slammed against his ribs. Someone whispered, He's guarding her?" Diesel planted himself between Harper and the world, nudged her gently back toward the wall using only his body, and lowered his head. Eyes locked on the blue backpack clutched in her shaking hands. The captain freaked. "I said control your dog!" "I am controlling him," Caleb snapped, pulling the leash. Diesel didn't move an inch. "If he's locking onto something, we're already late." The room went dead quiet. "Late for what?" someone whispered. Caleb swallowed. "Trouble." Diesel let out one sharp bark. Not angry, not random. The detection bark. It hit the room like a gunshot. TSA swooped in. 2 agents moved slow, hands raised like they were approaching a boom-boom. One knelt beside Harper. The other pointed at the backpack. "Sweetie, I need you to let go, okay? Just for a minute." Harper hugged the bag tighter. "No. No. She told me not to. She said I'd ruin the surprise if I opened it." "She," Caleb echoed. But there was no time to unpack that. Diesel growled again, harder, urgent. The agents exchanged looks. "We have to open it," one said. Caleb crouched, lowering his voice to her level. "Hey, kiddo, I need your help. Not to get you in trouble. Not to scare you. Just to make sure you're safe, okay?" Harper's lips trembled. She blinked hard. Once. Twice. Then loosened her grip, just enough for Caleb to slide the bag free. Diesel stepped closer immediately, nose inches from the zipper. Breathing fast. "If there's a device inside," the captain muttered. Caleb cut him off. "Don't assume. Let me see." He opened the front pocket. Nothing. Just crayons, a sticker sheet, a half-pack of tissues. The crowd exhaled, but Diesel didn't relax. Not at all. He pressed his nose toward the bottom seam of the bag. Caleb frowned. "Why are you—" He ran his fingers along the seam. Too thick. Wrong for a kid's bag. He tugged. Rip. A soft tearing sound rolled through the room. Caleb reached inside, slow, cautious, and his face changed. He pulled out a thin metallic strip. No wires, no detonator, nothing explosive, just silver, smooth, almost pretty, if it wasn't terrifying. "What the hell is that?" the captain whispered. Caleb didn't answer. Not yet. He peeled back another layer. More strips. Layered. perfectly aligned, micro-sized. People gasped. Someone dropped their coffee. Caleb finally said it. Quiet. Careful. Like the air itself might react. It's not a bomb. Murmurs erupted. Then what is it? Electronics, right? A tracker? Caleb shook his head. It's some kind of microchip array. Hidden. Industrial grade. Meaning? The captain asked. Caleb met his eyes. Meaning someone built this into a child's backpack. And it's not meant for kids. Silence. Heavy. Real. Even Diesel stopped growling, watching the bag, breathing slow, like he was waiting for the humans to catch up. Harper whispered, "Am I in trouble?" Caleb's chest tightened, because she wasn't the danger. She was the delivery system, a pawn, and she had no idea. If you were standing there, right then, what would your first instinct be? 1. Back away out of fear. Trust the dog no matter what. Stand still because you don't know who's right. Step in and protect the child. Time find Hunter Summers, leave your choice. Be honest. If finding the hidden microchips inside a 6-year-old's backpack hadn't already twisted the whole situation inside out, then what happened next? Yeah. This was the moment everything snapped. The moment the entire airport thought the nightmare was over, only to discover they were welcoming the monster with open arms. Because right after Caleb pulled out those metallic strips, and right after the crowd froze in that weird, buzzing silence, someone pushed through. Not a TSA agent, not a cop, not a frantic parent. A woman. But not just any woman. She walked in like she was stepping onto a movie set. Chin up, hair perfect, cashmere coat flowing behind her like she wasn't running through an airport at all, but gliding across a runway in Milan. Long blonde hair that looked like it had its own PR team. Gray eyes, cold, flat, too calm for the chaos around her. Lips curved into this soft, quivering smile, like she was so relieved. And before anyone could even ask who she was, she pressed a hand to her chest and gasped, "Harper! Baby! Mommy's here!" People melted instantly. "Oh, thank God! Her mom!" Poor kid. Imagine seeing all that. Caleb's gut dropped. Something about the woman felt wrong. Not bad hair day wrong. But she rehearsed this scene in the mirror this morning wrong. Before he could say anything, the woman, Veronica Hale, was already pushing past officers like they didn't exist. "Ma'am, stop," someone called. She ignored them. She dropped to her knees in front of Harper, arms wide, voice trembling like she'd practiced the exact amount of emotion to use. "Oh, sweetheart, Mommy's here. You're safe now. Come here, baby." Harper's face went blank. Not relieved. Not confused. Time 300 pounds. Just blank. Diesel reacted first. The growl that ripped from his chest didn't sound like it came from a dog. It sounded older, deeper, something primal. He lunged so hard he nearly tore the barrier out of the floor. "Diesel, no!" Caleb shouted. People screamed. Someone stumbled backwards. A guy dropped his suitcase. But Diesel wasn't lunging at them. He was locked onto Veronica. The woman flinched for a split second. Then the sweet smile slid back onto her face, like a mask being repositioned. "It's okay," she cooed. "He's just overwhelmed. Aren't you, boy?" Caleb's heartbeat thudded painfully. No. Diesel didn't growl like that unless the danger was standing right in front of them. Diesel's hackles rose so high they looked like a second spine. His teeth flashed, not threatening the crowd, but warning her. Veronica didn't retreat. She reached out and touched Harper. Just a soft brush of the hair at first. The crowd sighed. "Aw, poor thing. Sweet mom." And then it happened. A flicker. A movement so fast most people wouldn't notice. But the cameras did. And Diesel absolutely did. Veronica's fingers slid down from Harper's hair to her arm, to her wrist. Then a squeeze. Not gentle. Not motherly. Sharp. Controlling. Cruel. Harper jerked. A tiny wince. "Ow!" And Diesel exploded. He roared so violently the barrier shook. His paws scraped the tile, muscles bunching, teeth bared, ready to rip through anything between him and Harper. Caleb fought the leash. "Diesel, back, back, boy!" But Diesel didn't hear him, didn't care. His entire world was focused on Veronica. And Veronica changed. Not dramatically, but her smile faltered. Just a breath. Enough to reveal the steel underneath. Her eyes turned sharp, cold, calculating. Then she whispered to Harper, so soft only those closest heard. "Shh, behave." Caleb's stomach twisted. "Ma'am," he said, stepping forward, voice low and tight. "I need you to step back. Right now." Veronica blinked up at him. Innocence painted perfectly across her face. "Officer, please," she breathed. "She's my child." But Harper's reaction betrayed everything. She didn't reach for Veronica. Didn't cry, "Mommy." Didn't even lean toward her. She scooted away, clutched her backpack, whispered, "No, you're hurting me." Caleb froze. Diesel growled like rolling thunder. And for the first time, Veronica's smile didn't return. She stood, straightened her coat, eyes hardening into something that didn't belong in a public place. "Well," she murmured, "that's unfortunate." The crowd didn't hear that line, but Diesel did, and Caleb definitely did. And suddenly, just like that, people started to rethink the story they'd assumed, because nothing about this woman lined up with the scene she pretended to walk into. Not her timing, not her behavior, and definitely not the way a terrified child reacted to her touch. And this exact second, was the moment the entire airport realized. They might have just welcomed the wrong person into the center of everything. Because while Diesel was growling, like his soul recognized something evil, and Caleb was trying to understand why a 6-year-old recoiled from the woman calling herself Mom, someone in that damn crowd already had their phone out, and they were recording. Not the full story. Not Diesel shielding Harper. Not Harper whispering, "You're hurting me." No. Just 12 seconds. 12 seconds of the worst possible angle. Diesel barking. Diesel pulling forward. Harper flinching. Security shouting. And right when Veronica's hand tightened on Harper's wrist, the camera dipped, missing the most important part entirely. By the time the clip hit social media, a headline was slapped across it. Police dog attacks little girl at Austin airport. 12 seconds. 12 seconds. And the entire state of Texas had an opinion. Within 10 minutes, the clip hit X, Instagram Reels, TikTok, Facebook, news sites, probably even some church group chat in Oklahoma. Caleb didn't know any of this yet. He was still in the terminal trying to piece together what the hell was happening. But the internet? Oh, it was already eating itself alive. Comments poured in. "This is child endangerment. Fire that handler, now. That dog needs to be put down. Training failure. Absolute disgrace." Someone wrote, "Who lets a German shepherd near a child? They're unpredictable." Another, "Bet the cop was too lazy to control his animal." Nobody asked what the dog was reacting to. Nobody questioned why Harper was crying. Nobody cared about the full story. Because the world loves a villain more than it loves the truth. Then another wave hit. People froze the frames, zoomed in, drew red circles around Diesel's eyes. Look at its eyes. That's aggression. See the posture? Pre-attack behavior. Someone slowed the clip to .25 speed. Dog lunges at kid, clear as day. Never mind that he wasn't lunging at her. Never mind that he was protecting her from someone the camera couldn't see. 12 seconds. A national judgment. And then came the part that made people sick when the truth came out later. Because folks didn't just go after Diesel. They went after Harper, a 6-year-old. Users commented, "Look how she clings to the backpack. Suspicious. Kids can be trained for this. Bet she was planted. She's lying. She's not scared. She's caught." Someone wrote, "This is exactly how terrorist groups operate." About a 6-year-old. Meanwhile, back at gate A17, Harper was just a trembling kid who wanted her mom. Inside the airport, none of the passengers knew about the wildfire online. TSA didn't know. Caleb didn't know. But the shift in the room was happening anyway. Fear moves fast, like smoke. People whispered again. So what's in the bag? Why was she alone? Did she say anything yet? Kids are sneaky. Dogs don't react like that for no reason. Someone muttered, "Should have cuffed her already. Protocol is protocol." Another, "Well, the dog probably smelled something." But minority voices always drown. The louder voices, The ones carried by panic kept winning. By now, 3 TSA officers stood between Diesel and the crowd, holding riot shields. Actual riot shields. As if the dog who saved more lives than they'd ever know was suddenly feral. Diesel didn't even look at them. He only watched Veronica. But to everyone else? That didn't matter. Because once fear picks a target, logic stays home. Someone finally walked up to Caleb, a mid-level TSA supervisor with a clipboard and a face like quitting was his full-time hobby. "Officer Brooks," he said, "until we figure this out, your K-9 is to be treated as a threat." Caleb froze. A threat? His voice cracked, disbelief ripping through it. "Yes, and the child," Caleb snapped, "she is not a suspect." But the man shrugged, like this was paperwork, not a human life. "We follow the evidence." "What evidence?" Caleb demanded. "A 12-second clip?" The man raised an eyebrow. "You haven't seen the video?" Caleb blinked. "What video?" The supervisor sighed, turned the tablet toward him. And there it was. The 12-second public execution of the truth. Diesel barking, Diesel pulling, Harper flinching. No context. No Veronica. No hidden microchips. No protective growl. Just 12 seconds designed to ruin both of them. Caleb felt something twist. Tight, sharp, angry. "They think he attacked her," he whispered. "They think she was involved," the supervisor added. Caleb's jaw clenched. "She's 6. "And the internet doesn't care," the man said. "Not right now." And this, right here, was the moment everything hit the lowest point. The moment Diesel became the villain. The moment Harper became the suspect. The moment the world jumped to the wrong conclusion. It was the moment even future viewers of this story would want to scream, "Stop! You're blaming the wrong ones." Time value 500 mil, but the airport wasn't listening. Not yet. Because once the social media wildfire started burning, Caleb knew staying put was useless. Diesel was pacing. Low growls, sharp sniffs, ears locked forward. He wasn't done. And Caleb, exhausted, furious, scared out of his damn mind, realized something. "All right, buddy. You're not finished, are you?" Diesel flicked one ear back. Just one. Like finally. He gets it. Then he took off, straight toward the restricted corridor behind Gate A. Caleb scrambled after him. "Diesel, hey! Wait! Slow down!" But Diesel wasn't slowing. Not even a little. His paws hammered the tile like he was running toward the center of the earth. The metal door at the end of the hallway buzzed with each step. A TSA agent shouted, "Officer Brooks, where are you taking him? You can't just—" Caleb flashed his badge like a weapon. "He has scent. Either open that door or explain to Homeland why you stalled a federal K-9. The agent swallowed, hit the override. The door slid open with a heavy clunk, and the sound hit them first. A low, thunderous roar. Machines, miles of conveyor belts, heavy luggage slamming into metal plates, the mechanical heartbeat of the airport's underbelly. Caleb whispered, "Oh, hell." Because the baggage labyrinth wasn't a hallway. It was a maze. Steel everywhere. Belts weaving like giant snakes. Forklifts beeping. Air thick with dust and old jet fuel. Diesel plunged into it like he'd been born there. "Diesel! Careful!" Caleb dodged belts, ducked under crates, heart pounding in his throat. Diesel stopped suddenly at a red suitcase, nose shoved deep into the bottom seam. Then, bark, bark, bark. 3 sharp alerts. Caleb froze. Oh no, not again. 2 baggage techs rushed over. What's that mean? Is it bad? Is that, like, the kids' thing? Caleb knelt, sliced the seam open. And there it was. Another metallic board. Same structure. Same eerie shimmer. Hidden under a false lining. Caleb felt his stomach twist. Someone's moving chips through the luggage route. Diesel didn't wait. He bolted. "Hey, don't just run!" Diesel leapt over a conveyor, then another. Then under a metal beam Caleb had to crawl through. He stopped at a battered Navy roller bag. Same alert. Bark, bark, bark. Caleb sliced it open. Another chip array. The radio crackled. "Officer Brooks, confirming a second device?" "Negative," Caleb said breathlessly. "It's the third." Static. Then, "Third. Officer, be advised, if these chips reached the aircraft, multiple commercial flights would have lost radar visibility." Caleb stumbled. "Say that again." "Planes over Texas would have gone dark, completely invisible to the grid." Caleb went cold. Invisible planes. Commercial flights. Hundreds of people. He whispered, "Jesus, Diesel, what the hell did you just stop?" But Diesel was already moving. Up a slanted belt. Climbing it like a mountain rescue dog. Ignoring suitcases flying past. Caleb climbed after him. "Diesel, that's a loading line. You can't." Diesel didn't care. Around a divider, under a forklift, onto a secondary conveyor, where he stopped at a bright green Samsonite. Time 100. Bark, bark, bark. Caleb sliced it open. Rows of microchips, lined like piano keys. Caleb's throat closed. "This is a coordinated attack." A tech whispered, "If he finds a fourth, I quit." Diesel gave him exactly 1 second, then ran. "You jinxed it!" Caleb yelled. Diesel charged toward the far left belt, the one feeding outbound international flights. Radio crackled. "Gate A21 is pushing final boarding. If a compromised bag reaches that aircraft, don't let anything load!" Diesel slid across the belt, paused scrambling, until he hit bag number 4, yellow, small, ugly pattern. Inside, same chips, same stitching, same threat. 4 bags, 4 planes saved, 4 disasters avoided. A tech whispered, "That dog. Jesus Christ." Caleb dropped to his knees, hands shaking, adrenaline dumping hard. "Buddy," he whispered, smoothing Diesel's fur. You just stopped something massive." Diesel panted, exhausted, proud, steady. And maybe Caleb imagined it. But Diesel looked at him like, "We're not done. Not even close." And the thing is, he was right. Because 4 bags weren't an accident. They were a message. Someone had planned every inch of this, and Diesel had just stepped into the center of their map. Just as Caleb radioed in the last confirmation, and Diesel finally caught his breath beside a conveyor belt shaking under the weight of luggage, someone walked into the baggage labyrinth. Not ran, not stumbled. Walked. Smooth. Calm. Almost elegant. A woman. Tall, dark hair braided tight, black tactical jacket, boots making 0 sound on concrete. She was so out of place it took Caleb 3 whole seconds to process it. Then his earpiece crackled. "Officer Brooks, be advised. Orchid Southeast is in your sector. Repeat, Elora Wynn is inside the baggage tunnels." Caleb froze. "Elora Wynn? No, come on, she'd never walk into—" Diesel didn't need confirmation. His body snapped rigid, ears forward, a growl rolling out of him like thunder chasing a storm. Because Diesel knew danger long before humans did. Elora Wynn turned her head. Just a fraction. Just enough to lock eyes with Caleb. Gray-green eyes. Cold as stainless steel. 0 emotion. 0 fear. Then she smirked. "Looks like you found my deliveries," she said softly, like she was complimenting someone's gardening. Caleb swallowed. "Don't move." She chuckled. "Oh, sweetheart, I wasn't planning to." Then she moved. Fast. Too fast. She ripped something from her jacket. Small, black, cylindrical. Caleb shouted, "Smoke device, move!" But it was already rolling across the floor. PF. Boom! A thick cloud of burning white smoke exploded outward, swallowing everything. Caleb coughed hard, eyes burning. "Diesel, stay close!" But Diesel didn't stay. He hunted, through the smoke, into the dark, toward the danger. Caleb stumbled forward, swatting at the haze. Metal beams flickered overhead as sensors fought to penetrate the fog. Then he heard it. Something heavy scraping across concrete. Then another push. Then metal grinding. Loud, sharp, too heavy for a human to move. A baggage worker screamed, "Look out! She's pushing the loader crate!" Caleb's heart dropped. An 800-pound steel cargo container, tipping right onto Diesel. "Diesel, move, move, move!" For a split second, the world slowed. The steel crate crashed downward, shadows engulfing Diesel. But Diesel reacted on instinct. He jumped. Not pretty, not graceful, just survival. His paws scraped the crate's edge, metal screeching under him. One back leg missing the lip by inches. Caleb felt like he might throw up. "Diesel!" Diesel hit the opposite side, slid across a moving belt, claws scrambling for grip, almost falling into the rollers beneath. For one horrific second, it looked like he'd go under. But Diesel clawed forward. Pure muscle, pure instinct, pure grit, and hauled himself onto solid ground. Caleb exhaled a sound that wasn't a yell or a sob, just raw relief. "You're okay. Oh my God. Boy, you're okay." But Diesel wasn't celebrating. He was already up, already charging, straight toward the shifting smoke, straight toward Elora Wynn. Caleb shouted, voice cracking, "Diesel, track! Take her down!" Elora darted between plastic sheeting, pushing off walls, moving like she'd memorized the tunnels. She vaulted a railing, sprinted across a maintenance bridge, kicked a toolbox behind her. But Diesel leapt over it like it wasn't even there. Caleb chased them, lungs on fire, legs burning, eyes stinging. He turned at some corner, just in time to see Diesel launch. He hit Elora center mass, not biting, not tearing, just force. 80 pounds of trained muscle slamming a criminal to the concrete. Elora hit the floor hard. Diesel pinned her, growling inches from her throat. Caleb barreled in, cuffs ready. "Don't move!" He got one cuff on. Elora twisted, snarled. Diesel growled louder. Caleb forced her other hand back. Click, click, locked. Elora spat blood, glaring like he'd ruined something priceless. "You have no idea what you just interrupted," she hissed. Caleb, breath shaking. "Yeah?" He nodded toward Diesel. "That's kinda our thing." Diesel stayed on her until Caleb gave the release. Only then did he step back, chest heaving, fur dusted white with smoke. Caleb realized they weren't just stopping a crime. They were stopping a catastrophe. If you were right there, in the smoke, the noise, the adrenaline, and saw Diesel leap over that crate, what would you do? Get goosebumps. Can't release the tension. Trust this dog more than Radar 5. Choke on the fear because you thought he'd die 6. Want to shout with Caleb, "Diesel, move!" Comment your number. But upstairs, something else was happening. Something the cameras didn't catch. Something louder than alarms, more powerful than breaking news. It started with a voice, a scream. Not scared, not confused, but the kind of scream that comes from somewhere deeper than lungs. A place inside the ribs where love and terror live right next to each other. "Harper! Where is my baby?" It blasted through the terminal like an emotional shockwave. Every head turned. Every conversation died mid-sentence. A woman tore through the security doors. So fast, an officer stumbled trying to stop her. She wasn't dressed like anyone ready to be in an airport. She wasn't dressed like anyone who should even be awake. A white hospital blouse, still smeared with dried blood from an overnight trauma shift. Dark hair sticking to her face. Shoes untied. A stethoscope dangling from her neck, like she'd sprinted straight out of a patient room. Emma Quinn, the real mother, and she looked wrecked, destroyed, panicked beyond anything words could hold. "Where is she? Where is my little girl?" A TSA agent tried. "Ma'am, we need you to slow down." "I'm not slowing anything. Where is Harper?" Her voice cracked on the last word, like it physically hurt to say it. And then, like fate finally gave someone a break. Harper turned, small, shaking. Tears dried on her cheeks. She saw the blouse, the stethoscope, the face she'd been begging for. Something inside her just snapped open. Mommy. That one word shattered everyone within 20 feet. Emma froze. Her hands flew to her mouth. Baby, baby, oh my God. Harper. Harper took one step, then another. Then she ran. Pink parka bouncing, sneakers slipping, arms out. Emma dropped to her knees, hard, the sound echoing across the terminal. She caught Harper like she'd been drowning for days. Harper collapsed into her chest, sobbing into the hospital blouse. Mommy, Mommy, she said. She said you told her to take me. Emma's jaw clenched so tight her cheek twitched. Oh God, no, no, sweet girl, no one takes you. She hugged Harper harder, fingers gripping her jacket like she feared losing her again. No one touches you. No one tells you anything. Not ever again. You hear me? Never. Harper cried harder, the kind of crying that shakes a kid's whole body. I was so scared. She said it was a surprise. She said if I opened the backpack, you'd be mad at me. Emma pressed her forehead to Harper's. Baby, I would never be mad at you. Never. All of that was a lie. A horrible, horrible lie. And this reunion, hit the terminal like a tidal wave. The soldier who'd yelled earlier. He turned away and wiped his eyes. The mom who pulled her son behind her. She hugged him tighter. Even a TSA officer, one of the tough ones, blinked fast, jaw tight. Then Caleb arrived, Diesel at his heel, both covered in smoke, dust, exhaustion. Caleb stopped cold. Emma on the floor. Harper wrapped around her, both shaking, both crying, both clinging like the world had tried to separate them and failed. Caleb's voice softened. Ma'am, she's safe now. Emma looked up, eyes red, breath trembling. Then she saw Diesel. Her expression changed completely. Oh, she whispered. That's him, isn't it? Harper nodded into her shoulder. He found me. He didn't let, the bad lady take me. Emma reached out, hand shaking, and touched Diesel's cheek. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for bringing my baby back to me. Diesel leaned into her hand, just slightly, but enough. Enough to say, you're welcome. Enough to say, she's safe. Enough to say, I've got you. Harper wrapped her arms around Diesel's neck next. Diesel didn't move, didn't growl, didn't bark. He lowered himself, letting her hold him tighter. The whole airport felt it. This wasn't just a reunion. It was a rescue, a miracle. A moment people knew they'd remember for years, a mother holding her child, a child holding the dog who saved her life. And for the first time all day, people weren't scared. They were relieved, grateful, human again. Honestly, After watching Emma collapse on the floor with Harper wrapped around her, you'd think that was the emotional peak of everything. But no. Apparently the universe had one more punch ready. Not a sad punch. A soul-lifting one. The kind that makes your chest feel too small for what's happening. Because 72 hours after the chaos, after the smoke bombs, after the 4 suitcases filled with radar ghosting chips, the case moved to federal court. Federal. And that alone told you how massive this whole thing really was. The federal courthouse in Austin wasn't glamorous. Not like TV versions. Just marble steps, glass doors, 2 bright lights humming overhead. But that morning, it looked like a cathedral. The kind of place where something sacred was about to happen. Caleb stood outside the courtroom, adjusting Diesel's brand new vest. Midnight black, clean stitching, badge plate shining like it could signal airplanes. Diesel just sat there, panting like, "Dude, can we just go inside? There might be snacks." Caleb laughed. The first real laugh in days. Yeah. Let's go be famous, buddy." They walked in, and the room fell quiet. Instantly. No whispers, no murmurs. Just a silent shift as everyone straightened in their seats. Because this wasn't a police dog showed up today. This was the dog. The one from the footage. The one from the suitcases. The one the whole country had been arguing about. K9 Diesel. Judge Mason Reed. Late 50s, silver beard, shoulders like he once played football, looked over the room. Judges aren't emotional. They don't smile. But when Diesel entered, even Reed's expression cracked for half a second. "Rise," he said. Everyone stood. Not because of him. Because Diesel had walked past the front row. Caleb muttered, "Buddy, you know I'm the human here, right?" Diesel ignored him completely. He was in work mode. The judge cleared his throat, lifted a stack of papers thick enough to stop a bullet. "This court is assembled to review the events of December 19th at Austin Bergstrom International Airport." You could hear a pin drop. He reviewed testimonies, TSA reports, cyber intel, FAA statements about the chips designed to override radar returns. Severe aviation disruption was the polite phrase. 11 planes flying blind was the real one. Finally, he looked up. At the center of this case, Judge Reed said, is an unexpected individual. He paused, then announced the name like calling a championship winner, K9 Diesel. Diesel's ears perked. People smiled. Someone sniffled. Before any federal system detected irregular activity, before any trained adult noticed the threat, before Homeland Security initiated Protocol Alpha 12, K9 Diesel identified the danger. The room leaned forward, like no one wanted to miss a vowel. He alerted to 4 compromised luggage items, each containing advanced, illegal radar ghosting technology intended to blind air traffic control systems over Texas airspace. A gasp rippled through the crowd. He prevented catastrophic failures affecting 11 aircraft. And he did so, Reed added, voice deepening, despite smoke exposure, falling cargo, direct obstruction by criminal actors. Caleb swallowed hard. A tear pressed behind his eyes. Diesel. He stared forward like this was a bedtime story about someone else. Judge Reed closed the file, stepped down from the bench. Something judges rarely do. He approached Diesel. K9 Diesel, he said, for extraordinary bravery, service beyond the call of duty, and for preventing one of the most significant aviation breaches in Texas history. This court officially recognizes you as a federal hero. Then, he placed a medal around Diesel's vest, and the room didn't applaud. It erupted. Officers, parents, veterans, techs, reporters, people who just wanted to witness history, all on their feet. Caleb knelt beside Diesel, whispering, "You earned that, buddy. You really earned it." Diesel blinked slow, leaned against Caleb's shoulder, and huffed like, "Yeah, that tracks." And then, somehow, the most emotional moment hadn't even happened yet. Harper Quinn stepped forward. Pink dress, little boots, hair brushed, but still messy in that way only kids can manage. She stopped in front of Diesel, looked up at him like he was 10 feet tall, and whispered, "Hi, hero." Diesel lowered his head so she could reach him. Harper placed her tiny hand against his cheek, the same cheek she'd cried into 2 days before. "You saved me," she said softly. "And I'm not scared of airports anymore." Diesel closed his eyes. Calm, gentle, in that way he only ever was around children. The courtroom melted. Even the judge cleared his throat like he'd swallowed a memory. Harper hugged Diesel's neck, small arms around tanned fur, burying her face where she'd once cried in fear. Caleb watched them. This kid, this dog, this impossible moment, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Pure, uncomplicated, admiration. For Diesel, for Harper, for the miracle that dragged them both through hell, just to stand here, together. And honestly, after the standing ovation in that federal courtroom, you'd think emotions had tapped out. Like, "All right, folks, we're all cried out. Pack it up, we're done." But sometimes, the softest moments hit harder than the loudest ones. Because right after Judge Mason Reed dismissed the room and people started filing out, buzzing, wiping their eyes, reaching out to pat Diesel like he was a living monument, something quieter happened. Something small. Something the news would never catch. But something nobody there would ever forget. Caleb was clipping Diesel's leash back on, whispering, "Good boy. I mean it, bud. I'm so damn proud of you." When Emma Quinn walked over, not with the panic from the airport, not the trembling grief from the early reports, just soft, like someone finally breathing again. She knelt, slow, careful, right in front of Diesel, and Diesel, tired as he was, lowered himself too, like he knew this was different. Emma reached out, fingertips brushing Diesel's cheek. Her voice broke immediately. You didn't just save my daughter. She swallowed hard, wiped her eyes, even though tears kept falling. You saved my life. Diesel didn't move, didn't tilt his head, didn't break eye contact. He just let her cry, let her lean, let her shake. Then, slowly, gently, he placed his head against her shoulder. Not a jump, not a nuzzle, just weight, warmth, presence. The kind of small, grounding pressure that knocks down every emotional wall a person spent years building. Emma broke, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. Her hands cupped Diesel's neck. Tears soaked into his fur. Oh God, she whispered. I thought I lost her. I thought. Her breath shook. I didn't know if she was crying, or cold, or scared, or if someone touched her. Diesel let out a low sound. Not warning, not alert, but sympathy. Caleb looked away, swallowing hard. Take your time, he murmured. He's got you. Emma kept her forehead against Diesel's collar. I kept thinking, if I left 5 minutes earlier, or later, or if I didn't work that double shift, or if I didn't. Her voice cracked. It should have been me who found her. Caleb stepped closer, hand steady on her shoulder. You did find her, he said softly. She ran to you like you were the only person in the universe. Emma let out a shaky laugh, broken, but real. Diesel leaned in slightly, like saying, she's here now. That's what matters then. Harper toddled over, yellow dress, stuffed koala in hand. She stood quietly, watching her mom cry into Diesel's fur. Then she shuffled forward and tugged on Diesel's vest. Diesel. Hi. Diesel's ears perked, just slightly. Harper leaned down until her tiny nose touched his nose. A soft little boop. Thank you, she whispered, for believing me, even when nobody did. Caleb blinked hard, called it dust. Harper continued. You knew I wasn't bad. You knew the backpack was bad. You knew she lied. You knew everything. Diesel huffed softly. A dog's version of obviously. Harper giggled. Emma drew her daughter into the hug. Mom, child, and dog wrapped together like a small, fragile universe. And Diesel. He stayed still, tail quiet, breathing steady, not heroic, not dramatic, not loud, just healing. After minutes, maybe more, Emma pulled back, wiping her face. She let out a tiny laugh. Sorry, I'm kind of a mess. Caleb shook his head. You're a mom. No apology needed. Harper pet Diesel's cheek again, gentle as always. Do you think he knows? She whispered. knows he saved us. Caleb smiled, nudging Diesel lightly. Oh, sweetheart, Diesel knows everything. Harper grinned, hugged him tight. Emma placed her hand over Harper's, whispering, You brought her home. I'll never forget that. Ever. And Diesel, hero, guardian, gentle giant, closed his eyes in a peaceful, content way that said, Healing goes both ways. But life has this weird way of offering one last soft moment. Not dramatic, not loud. Just the kind that sticks with you forever. It happened the next morning. The sun wasn't even fully up. Just soft streaks of orange smudged across the Texas sky. The air had that early winter bite, not freezing, but enough to make you hug your jacket tighter. Caleb sat half asleep, sipping awful airport coffee, perched at the edge of runway 4R. Diesel sat next to him, ears twitching every time a bird flew too close. The day was quiet, peaceful, almost suspiciously calm after everything. Then Caleb heard tiny footsteps, fast ones. He turned, and there she was, Harper Quinn, pink sneakers, hair in two messy ponytails, absolutely self-made, holding something precious in her hand. Emma jogged behind her in scrubs and a puffy jacket. Harper, slow down. Honey, you can't just sprint on a runway. But Harper didn't slow. She was on a mission. She skidded to a stop in front of Diesel, cheeks red from cold and pure excitement. Diesel, she breathed, like saying his name was the best part of her morning. Diesel stood, slow, curious, wagged his tail once. That was his version of smiling. Harper grinned and held up the object in her hand. A torn strip of blue fabric. Not shiny, not new, just frayed, singed, and faintly smelling of plastic and fear. Caleb recognized it instantly. The backpack. Harper swallowed, like she was about to say something big. I kept this, she whispered. From the bag. The scary one. Emma rested her hands on Harper's shoulders, gentle, silent. Harper stepped closer to Diesel. I kept it so Diesel has something good from something scary. Caleb blinked hard. Diesel looked at the fabric, then at Harper, then back at the fabric. He leaned in, sniffing, slow, thoughtful, like he could smell the whole story in one little scrap. Harper's voice quivered. Can I put it on him? Caleb cleared his throat, rougher than he meant to. Yeah, kiddo. He'd like that. Harper's face lit up like runway lights. She knelt, careful, lifted Diesel's collar. The strip fluttered in the breeze like even the sky wanted to see. She tied the blue scrap into a tiny knot on Diesel's vest strap. Not perfect, not straight, but gentle. When she finished, she sat back on her heels, exhaling, like she'd completed something important. Diesel looked down, then at Harper. Then, slowly, he lowered his head onto her shoulder. Harper giggled. Wet, fragile, halfway between joy and overwhelm. Emma knelt beside her, rubbing her back softly. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Harper whispered. "It's like a little flag. A hope flag." Caleb felt something twist in his chest, in that good, painful, healing way. "That's exactly what it is," he said quietly. The wind lifted the strip of blue. It fluttered gently from Diesel's vest, a tiny banner of everything they'd survived. Harper stood, brushing off her knees. "Do you think Diesel likes it?" Caleb smiled. "Sweetheart, Diesel wears a bulletproof vest, a service badge, tactical gear. But that," he pointed to the blue scrap, "is the only thing he's ever worn that he didn't have to earn. That makes it special." Harper beamed. Emma wiped her eyes, pretending she wasn't. Diesel walked to the runway's edge, the wind brushing his fur, the little blue flag fluttering like it had its own heartbeat. Time 1800 Miss. The sun finally rose, warm, soft, gold. Harper stood beside him, not behind him, not clinging to her mom. Beside him, silent, safe, hopeful. Emma slipped her hand into Caleb's, surprising him. "Thank you," she whispered, "for giving her this morning." Caleb shook his head gently. "No. She gave it to us." Diesel turned back, looked at them, then at Harper. He gave one gentle wag, and the whole world felt lighter. Just a scrap of blue cloth on a winter runway. Just a child and a K9 in the morning sun. Just a quiet moment of peace after days of chaos. But everyone there knew this was the start of something new, something brighter, something safer, something hopeful. A blue flag of healing on runway 4R. And, after that little blue flag fluttered on Diesel's vest on runway 4R, after Harper smiled that tiny, brave smile, and after Emma finally exhaled like she had permission to breathe again, there was this quiet that settled over the airport. Not the scary kind from earlier. No. This one felt earned, soft, real. Caleb stood there for a moment, hands shoved in his jacket pockets, just watching Harper pet Diesel like she was touching a guardian angel, instead of a K9 who had sprinted through hell only 48 hours before. And something inside him, something he hadn't felt in a long, long time, clicked back into place. Then Emma and Harper drifted toward the terminal doors, hand in hand, walking into that soft amber morning. And Diesel leaned gently against Caleb's leg like, "Hey, you good?" "Because I'm good. Just checking on you, man." Caleb chuckled under his breath and rubbed Diesel's ear. "Yeah, buddy," he murmured. "I'm good." But the thing was, he wasn't. Not fully, not yet. Because there was one last truth, sitting heavy in his chest, something he hadn't said out loud. Not until that moment. He breathed out, slow and shaky, watching the sun climb over the Texas horizon, painting the tarmac gold. "Diesel," he whispered, barely audible. You didn't just save the airport, partner. Diesel lifted his head, ears twitching like he understood the weight behind those words. You saved the part of me I thought was gone. Caleb swallowed hard. And yeah, maybe that sounds dramatic. Maybe it sounds like a movie line. But it wasn't. Not here. Not now. Because Caleb Brooks had spent years barely holding it together. Between deployments. Between losses. Between nights staring at the ceiling, wondering why the world felt one bad breath away from falling apart. But through smoke, through chaos, through a little girl's terrified cries, this dog reminded him why he put the uniform on in the first place. Not for glory, not for headlines, not for medals, but for moments like this. Moments where a child was safe, where truth won, where hope didn't just appear, it fought. Diesel nudged Caleb's hand, low and firm, like he was saying, "Hey, don't go soft on me now. We've still got a sunrise to walk through." Caleb laughed under his breath. All right, I'm coming." They stepped off the runway, side by side, walking toward that huge Texas sky glowing like fire and honey. Diesel's paws padded steady. Caleb's boots matched each step without even trying. It was peaceful, quiet, the kind of morning that feels like the world is offering you a second chance. Caleb looked down at Diesel, at the tiny blue scrap fluttering on his vest, small, but somehow bigger than the badge. "Crazy week, huh?" he muttered. Diesel huffed like, "Dude, you have no idea." When they reached the service gate, Caleb paused. Diesel sat beside him, patient. "Buddy," Caleb said softly, "they're going to talk about this day for a long time. The whole country, probably." He breathed deep. "But you want to know the part no one will ever understand?" Diesel tilted his head. Caleb smiled. That kid's smile. That blue scrap of fabric. That's what saved me. Diesel pressed his head against Caleb's hip, and the sun behind them just kept rising. After a long moment, Caleb exhaled, finally letting go of something he'd held too tight. "All right," he said. "Let's go home." Diesel stood, shook out his fur. Together they walked, two silhouettes stretching long across the concrete. One man, one dog, stepping into a day neither expected to see, but both damn grateful to reach. And honestly, if you'd been there, watching it unfold, watching them disappear into that gold sunrise, you'd feel something shift inside you too. Hope, relief, faith in people again. Because sometimes the world doesn't give you heroes in capes. Sometimes it gives you a German shepherd with a blue scrap of fabric and a heart way too big for his body. Now let me ask you something. Honest answer, all right? If you were there that morning, watching all of it unfold, would you be one, the person who backed away because fear got there first? Two, the person who trusted Diesel even when no one else did? Five, the person frozen, Unsure who to believe? 6. The person who stepped forward to protect the little girl from the very start. Be real with yourself. Pick one.